I am out here today, beautiful Palm Springs. Today I'm gonna be hiking Cactus to Clouds. For a full guide on Cactus to Clouds, you can check the link in the description below. A lot of my viewers may not be familiar with what Cactus to Clouds is. Allegedly, it is the hardest day hike in the United States. It stretches over 21 miles, over 10K of vertical gain, and summits San Jacinto Peak, which is over 10K. So basically what we're gonna be doing today is tagging that and then taking the tram back down. In this video today, I'm gonna do my best to show you the virtual experience of Cactus to Clouds. For a full guide with much more information, you can head to my website, which is linked in the description below. You may be asking yourself, Mickey, how is this hike I've probably never heard of the hardest in America? Well, it's because, first of all, I think Backpacking Magazine was one who initially called it this, but you may think Mount Whitney, Mount Shasta, one of the Colorado 14ers, something up in the Appalachian Trail. The reason this is considered one of the hardest is because of the stats. Over 21 miles, over 10,000 feet of vert. You can hear my labored breathing right now. I just started. This kind of gain is going to be essentially what you're doing for almost the entire day. Beautiful Palm Springs in the back here. Excited for Coachella coming up. I will say there are a ton of social trails to start this one, so be sure to have a GPX file to follow. That will make your life a lot easier when double checking all these intersections. Also, shout out to Backcountry. They provided me with a lot of awesome gear. Some will be featured in this video. You can get everything I'm wearing in the links in the description below, as well as an affiliate link, which will help save you some money on your next order and also support the channel as well. They're not always helpful because sometimes they're pointing in opposite directions, but generally following the white dots. If you're less than a mile in and need a break, got some picnic tables here. Otherwise, the trail continues here towards the North Lichen Trail. Since this is a one-way hike, you have to consider logistics if you're by yourself. Obviously I am. Shuttling, really key. From what I hope and understand, there's Wi-Fi at the base of the gondola, which is what you take down the tram. I'll have to Uber back to where I parked at the start here. But again, all information on that on the full guide on the website. The other thing I'm figuring out quickly, and if you don't know what a false summit is, Cactus to Clouds will teach you it. False summit is basically when you think you're at the top and you're not. That's gonna happen, I would imagine, like 100 times today because you're climbing so much. Literally from the desert floor to a high alpine 10,000 foot mountain. On the traverse part of the hike now, this means I'm chilling on elevation gain. To update you, just about 2 miles, 1,500 feet in, and a little over an hour of hiking. I'm not gonna do those updates the whole time because that would be so boring. ,3,000 feet high or so. I haven't been showing much because everything looks very similar. This is very far away, but this is where your next kind of big goal is. You'll be looking at this for a while. The environment has changed right in front of my face. All these small trees here signify we are entering the high desert. Crazy views right now. Wind's picking up, it's cooler, my vibes are much higher. So I'm not sure if it's right or left, but eventually over this, as I pointed out a while ago, that gray rock, that gray granite, I believe you're aiming for, and that's like your longer goal. Bail point if you need one. Just about 8 miles in, looking back, Palm Springs and Indio. Closer look at your next objective, which is much closer than before. I'm not sure where up here you go, but somewhere. And you'll be near your next source of water, which is about 10.5 miles into the day. Section, like 6 to 9-ish miles, nice, is pretty steep. I've gained about 6,800 feet, 70% of climbing for the day, but I'm only about 8.5 miles in. So basic math saying that eventually this climbing will ease up, but wow, it's definitely really steep for these first, like, let's say 10 miles. I'm fairly certain I'm off trail here. A look at the steep slopes prior to Grubb's Notch. Man, 8,000 feet of climbing done. About 2,700 to go. I know this does not look like much, but let's fucking go. This is Grubb's Notch. What I've been working for hours now. 80% of the climbing now done. That was brutal. Immediately entering Alpine environment. Oh man, I have to say I'm very relieved to have that big ass climb done. Still have a lot of miles, so over like 10 and almost 11, but only 2,500 feet of gain amongst that. Is much cooler up here, and I can refuel water. I'll talk all about water and nutrition in the full guide as well, but refueling water here I've been looking forward to for freaking hours. Checked in with the rangers. You have to get a free day permit and then return it after you're done. They were super nice. There's some nice hose water to refill. There's bathrooms. If you did need food, I'm pretty sure you can go up to the tram, but you don't have to do that now. So basically limit your elevation unless you're in dire straits. But from here on out should be, as they stated, about 6 hours, 12 miles round trip or so. And that's to and from the summit of San Jacinto. So far, Cactus Clouds is offering like everything you could really want in a hike, minus scrambling, but really, really beautiful. What's crazy about this hike is the amount of different ecosystems you are traveling through. Obviously starting in Palm Springs, the desert, and now up here with pine trees, conifers, all different kinds of high elevation alpine environment. Just stark difference. And I think the nice part too for me is you cannot see Palm Springs anymore, which makes this feel like just so different, almost a different day than what you had been doing for hours climbing to get up to this point. It's always cool to meet people doing stuff that you do and the way that you do it. Just met a guy, Kevin, I forget where he said he was from, but he's out here for work in Long Beach, and he came out a day early to do this. So it makes me feel less crazy. I know I'm still an alien, but yeah, people do this stuff and you can too. As you can tell by the water dripping off of my hat, it's nice to have it be water instead of sweat like before. But there is a stream that runs, I guess, for about 2.5 miles on your way to the summit. But obviously filter it. I didn't bring my filter for this trip because I didn't think I would need it with how much water I'm carrying. So it's very cold and nice to refresh yourself with at least. Absolutely banana land to wrap your head around the fact that I'm walking through like ½ inch of snow right now versus what I was in for so many hours this morning. Really lovely hiking up here. Very well signed, tons of shade, cool, love it. I'll have all information about camping in the full guide, but there are several areas to camp up here. Just leaving the Wellman Divide, about 13.5 miles in. Another, let's say 800 feet of climbing to go. And then on the summit, definitely starting to feel the vert on my legs. So probably will be taking more breaks in these last couple miles here, but under 3 to the summit. You can obviously hear the helicopter right now. I'm not sure if this is a rescue situation or like work being done or a tour, but I'm really hoping it's the last two. Otherwise, that's really triggering for me. All of this white granite here reminds me of Mount Whitney, and I have to keep reminding myself I'm not in one of those environments. I'm in Palm Springs. Crazy. Cactus to Clouds so far has absolutely delivered on being just a really good hike. Don't quote me on this, but I think for the first time today, the true summit, or at least the true false summit, is right up here. Brutal. I just keep looking at my watch and like laughing at the numbers. It's just ridiculous. Obviously, when you're ultra running, you do days like this running quite frequently. But in terms of a hike, I think it's up there with the Presidential Traverse in terms of the hardest I've ever done. I have to look at those stats, but I'm very lucky. It's a beautiful day. This snow is fresh, so it's melting quickly, which is interesting. Yeah, this is hard. Thank God you take the tram down. I'm sure there's people who go ham and send it all the way down, but my knees could never. Last trail junction of the day. Pretty easy not to miss this one, but you're less than a half mile from the summit of San Jacinto. Pretty cool little hut just east of the summit. I'm sure you can sleep in there. I'll link info about reservations in the full guide. Top of San Jacinto Peak. Top of San Jacinto Peak here. Beautiful in its own right. Just about 10,780 feet of elevation gain. It took me about 9.5 hours from start to here. Obviously, to finish Cactus to Clouds, you still have 6 miles to go. I've been thinking about this. It's a very odd thing to call this the hardest hike in America. The hardest hike in America would be to start this and then end it at the same point. If you do it that way, arguably it's in the conversation. But even off the top of my head, I'm thinking Four Pass Loop, Presidential Traverse, Pemi. There's like a lot of things that I think enter this conversation. Obviously, 10,800 feet of vert is like crazy, and there'll be some on the way down. I think I'll end up with close to 11. Overall, though, I will say this hike is sick. It reminds me in different ways of Kilimanjaro, where you're starting on, you know, the floor of the plains there in Tanzania, and then you end up in a glacier on top of a 18,000 foot mountain. So very similar of you're passing through multiple ecosystems in a day, which is sick. Was this a good idea to do before going to Coachella? Probably not. Time will tell there, But for all the freaking fake influencers out there who are like fitness bros and girls and all that shit, and then they go to Coachella, like, do this and then do it. And camp, by the way, and then talk to me. Definitely on one right now, obviously. So if you're new to my channel, I don't usually film the way down, but I will show some shots of getting onto the tram and all that stuff. I still have plenty of time, but I'm not gonna dawdle. Before I leave, I have been looking forward to this very disgusting looking piece of pizza all day. So cheers, and we'll see you in a couple miles. In terms of crowds, I can't really speak to it because I'm doing this on a weekday, but what I will say is that I've seen low crowds-ish, but also the tram area is pretty crowded on a weekday, so I imagine weekends. Do the math. If you've watched this far, I'm rewarding you with more information, which is season. Obviously, Palm Springs is the desert in California. It can get wicked hot. So you want to time this, ideally, to do it in the spring or late fall. But as you can see, the peak does get snow. You have to take that into account too. Obviously is a huge factor because today it's been really well traveled and like pretty chill. But even right now I'm realizing I'm kind of lost, so I gotta stop talking to the camera. If you're new to my channel, I do virtual trail guides. I'm based in Colorado, but I just want to say this. I did a 50K, I don't know, a couple days ago, and now I'm doing this today. It's obviously pretty insane amount of physical activity, especially vert, for like less than 5 days. But I'm average, and I make this channel to show you places like this, inspire you to do things like this, and maybe for you watching, it might take a couple of years to get to a point where you can kind of easily do this, but at the same point, you can do it. So I hope somebody watching this is inspired to come out here and do this, because I hadn't heard of this until a couple of years ago, and I think this should be a hike that anybody who is into hiking absolutely adds to their list. If you are taking the tram down, there is a last tram, so be sure to know what time that is for you. Under 2 miles from the tram now, so I'm gonna give you some stats on Cactus to Clouds. This is gonna take me just about 12.5 hours all in, breaks, hiking, bathroom, etc. I'm not going to recommend this for anybody who is not a very in shape person. Hiker being ideal, because there's a lot of route finding, especially at the beginning. It's vital to have a GPX track to follow. If you're not sure what that is, definitely educate yourself, but it's basically a map track that a ton of different apps can use to help you along the way. I would have been lost a lot today without someone else's. So you can download mine on my website. In terms of mileage, this should be just about 21. And then also I'm gonna go with just about 11,000 in vert once you hike back up to the tram, which is a couple hundred feet of climbing. Overall, Cactus to Clouds was a fantastic hike. I keep forgetting this is all the same day, and to me, whenever you have a day like that, that's a classic in my opinion. Is it the hardest hike in America, day hike? I don't know about that, because really you can make anything a day hike, and I've seen so many people backpacking this too, so I'll leave that up to you all to debate. But I will say, in terms of, for me personally, this is definitely like a top 10 hardest day I've had on the mountain, probably. I know everything is relative to fitness level. There's been days where I get back to the car and I'm like collapsing into it. That's not gonna be one of these days. Tried to get better shots on the tram, but anyway, 21 miles, 11K of vert officially after the walk up to the tram. That's gonna wrap up Cactus to Clouds. If you found this video at all helpful, hit the subscribe button not to miss any future content. And if you're new to my channel, I have so much stuff. Hit the subscribe button not to miss any future hike reviews. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys on the next adventure.